A venture private placement is going to be fairly straightforward from a securities law vantage point. Most venture private placements are structured as Section 4A2 private placements, since they are private placements made to a single institutional investor. Occasionally, a venture private placement may be structured as a Rule 506 offering. Setting aside the securities law exemption that's being used, a venture private placement is going to be an involved process that's going to consume a fair bit of time for the company and its management team. Venture investors are going to want to conduct significant due diligence and review the company's business operations, financial models, financial projections, and other documents specific to the company's industry. Once satisfactory due diligence has been undertaken, potential investors with an interest may agree to negotiate a term sheet. The term sheet is going to set out the type of security, the price, the conversion rights or other features that the security may have, dividend preferences, liquidation preferences, voting rights, rights to designate board members, information rights, fees and expenses of advisors, and confidentiality provisions. Typically, the confidentiality and exclusive dealing or exclusivity provisions are the provisions of the term sheet that are going to be binding, pending the negotiation of a stock purchase agreement. Typically, most venture investments are structured as convertible preferred stock. The convertible preferred stock is going to bear a dividend, which might be cumulative or non-cumulative, and the priority of payment to the venture investors is going to be documented such that the issuer can't pay dividends to holders of common stock until it's paid all dividends to holders of preferred stock. The preferred stock is also going to benefit from a liquidation preference that gives preferred security holders priority over one or more classes of series of stock, including other classes of preferred as well as common. It's also going to provide for a right of return in the case of a voluntary or involuntary liquidation, dissolution, or winding up of the company. In addition to addressing dividend rights and liquidation preferences, considerable time and attention will be spent to discussing and negotiating the voting rights and board rights. Investors are going to want to vote on a number of general matters with other preferred security holders, generally on an as-converted basis, but in addition will want protective provisions or series voting rights on a number of items that are particularly important. Protective provisions are also going to be documented in connection with the investment, and those protective provisions would ensure that the VC investors have a seat at the table and get to veto any amendment to the company's certificate of incorporation, its bylaws, any creation of a more senior class of security, any reclassification or amendment of an existing class of security, as well as other similarly important or organic corporate events. The purchase transaction is going to be documented in a stock purchase agreement entered into between the company and the venture investors. That stock purchase agreement is going to contain reps and warranties on the part of the company, as well as schedules to the stock purchase agreement, which effectively will serve as a disclosure document. At the conclusion of the transaction, the company is going to file an amended certificate of incorporation or a certificate of designations for the preferred stock. That's a quick summary of what is usually a very long and fairly involved process.